Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the Badass Conversations podcast. This is John Chaney, your host, and today we are just absolutely excited, excuse me, to have Michael Lloyd on. Michael is a Marine vet. He's an actor and filmmaker. He's been in such shows as Zoo on Netflix, NCIS New Orleans, Into the Badlands, Scream Queens, and now he's on Queen of the South. Michael, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me.
Good. First of all, let me just thank you for being a vet and doing what you can for our country. I don't think we say that enough to our vets. So I just want to take that time.
Appreciate the support. Thank you.
Heck yeah, most definitely. So I'm not going to lie. I've been pretty excited about this interview coming up because I have seen you on these shows, especially NCIS. I'm a big NCIS fan, and I haven't got to you yet on Queen of the South, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, it's there. It's the 5th season, I think, is on Amazon Prime right now, and it should be coming to Netflix sometime next year.
Right. Yeah, I'm on Netflix, and I think I'm on episode 3 right now. So,
yeah,
I'm getting there.
4 seasons. Yeah, it's a great story. I love it.
Yeah. So, how did you get? Let's just start, I guess, at the beginning. How did you become an actor? How was that something that you knew as a young kid that you wanted to act, or was it just something that came about?
So my longest passion was actually to join the military. You know,
Sure.
my mom was in the Navy, my grandfather was in the Army, my grandmother was in the Air Force. So I had a little bit of a lineage of military history there in the family.
Awesome.
So I wanted to join the Air Force. That was my long time dream, to be a pilot. I did start acting in high school. My freshman year was the first year that I ever tried acting. And we put on our own school rendition of The Little Rascals.
Awesome.
And actually, I think, oh yeah, I do. I still have a photo from the last play that I ever did too in high school, the night of January 16th. That was my senior year project. I just found that actually while I was cleaning yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it gave me some memories and reminded me of, you know, how long ago this started for me, you know, being a freshman in high school. And I never thought of it as a reasonable career. You know, it was just kind of
Right.
like a fun hobby, really. You know, kind of like musicians even sometimes where, you know, they're playing music, but they don't ever play for a crowd. You know, I never thought that I'd ever do it for TV or film. So I joined the military out of high school, went to the Marine Corps. I was a tank crewman, and I did that for 4 years. Well, just shy of 4 years. I was medically discharged. And after about a year of my discharge, I moved to New Orleans. My mom had been living here for a while, and she kind of talked me into it and said it was like Hollywood South out here. And I was like, okay, you know, why not? You know, I had nothing to lose, so I went for it. And crashed on our couch, immediately started looking for gigs. And I think within like the first month was when I found my first background gig on that Netflix production Zoo. And
Right.
even though it was my first gig, I didn't get any screen time, but just that first, you know, experience, it really puts things in perspective for you when you get something even just as menial as a background job.
Sure.
You know, and being around all that was just really inspiring. I had an awesome experience, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else for the rest of my life after that. So it was at that moment I decided that I was going to keep pursuing this.
Awesome. Yeah, as a kid, I was always going to be the backup to Gene Simmons and Kiss, but that didn't work out, so I had to start teaching middle school. But, you know, I had a dream.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be one of those people that, you know, fell on those dreams because my dad did that. He
Right.
was an actor in college, and he was pretty decent one. And he actually showed me one of like an old tape of like one of his plays from the U of A.
Sure.
And he was like in real big shape, real good shape then, and
Hmm.
everything, compared to how he is now. It's doing better though, and that was really interesting to see. And not to mention, I also have kind of like this inspirational poster of my great 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 grandfather, Victor
Awesome.
Moore, who was a star during the silent film talkie era.
Oh, well, that's awesome. So the acting bug is in your family all the way back. So that's really cool. Um, I have most people don't believe this, but my sixth great uncle was Daniel Boone. But
Oh,
yeah, so he was at Fort Boonesboro, which is right down the street from where I'm at, and they guarded all the bourbon. Now I drink the bourbon, but I don't guard it like my uncle. So, but
yeah.
I've tried. So, man, that's awesome. Um, of all the roles that you've played, and I enjoyed the video I saw on Facebook too that you put up when you were talking about when you were playing. I think you were in prison. It might have been Zoo, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and then somebody came up to you and said that you were too pretty for that role, and so you.
Yeah, she was one of the hair and makeup ladies. She was doing her walkthroughs, and we were sitting down and holding just off of like the camera in like the next room.
Right.
In an actual working prison too. That was the crazy part. It was a real working prison. We were just in an unoccupied wing, and
Yeah, how was
that
that?
was interesting to show
Yeah.
up to for my first gig ever. I was like, oh
Oh
wow,
man.
okay.
Yeah.
Whoa, what did I get into? Is
Yeah.
this where's Chris Hansen? Is this the setup? What's going on?
Ken, make
uh
sure I can get out, please.
but yeah, she was doing her walkthroughs, and she did like this double take and was like, yeah, you're too pretty, come, and she had to do this like divide it down the middle and like slick it down and make it look real greasy looking. And
Hmm.
because apparently I was too pretty for prison, but which is
Well,
terrifying to hear. I'm not gonna lie, I hope I
I'm
never
going to
go to
say,
jail
see now, it
now.
was in my head, but I wasn't going to. I'm glad they didn't have you around the other population. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, new fear unlocked. I mean, as if I didn't already fear prison as it was, to
Oh,
have
yeah.
someone just validate that. I'm like, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to now make my list of where not to go. Prison. Yes,
Right.
Mark. Oh, that's awesome. Um, so, what I was getting to with that, of all the different roles that you've played, which
Mhm.
one do you think that you like the most, that you enjoyed the most doing?
Well, I have to say right now my favorite role has been Flacco. I think that's just
Hmm.
because I had a lot more involved in that,
Sure.
versus some of my other roles prior.
Right.
It is a non-speaking role, but having to communicate with body language and facial expressions,
Mhm.
not through nonverbal communication,
Right.
is its own type of acting, and it's not always easy to do.
That's what I was getting ready to
And
say. I would think that'd be more difficult.
I mean, I remember the first time I had to learn how to do that. It was, I think, my junior year, and it was for the first semester play. And there was this role that I had to do where I was this clown who
No.
was confronting this guy that ran over my pet monkey. And the clown's only form of communication was with a horn. So it was like one honk for yes, two honks for no kind of thing.
Sure.
And so having to play that kind of character with no lines, but having to portray, something, uh, it's it's a trick of its own.
Oh yeah.
So I liked it, and it was fun to do. I was tired a lot because I was working a lot too. In between
Oh yeah.
that, I
Hmm.
doing the security overnight, 12-hour shifts. So I was like
Yeah.
doing a security job, that night, and then rolling over at 7 a.m. after I get off work to go to this set and do this job. And what was crazy about it is for the first 4 days that I was scheduled, they didn't even use me. So
No.
I was there after a 12-hour shift, stayed on set for 10 hours just for them to not use me.
Man.
So you can imagine the amount of frustration, the amount of patience I had to practice during
Sure.
that time. But in the end, it was worth it. It was really fun. I got to, briefly chat with like Hemke Madera, who played Pote, Molly Burnett, who plays Kellyanne, and
Right.
The character who my character is guarding. So, and meeting those people, it was fun. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, just having that much more in it, kind of like,
Well, that's
something
what
to
it's.
like really put my teeth in.
Sure. And it's got to be fun. If you're doing something and it's not fun, then you're not doing what you were meant to do.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, most definitely. So with you talked about how you'd be on set and you get frustrated and this that, which I can imagine. I've never acted or anything like that, but I can imagine that would be a stressful job. What do you do? How do you go about in handling the stress of being an actor and the pressure that you're on? Because I can't imagine the pressure that you're on. Because
right,
when I think about it, I don't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. And then you're having to, well, not in this role, but in other roles, you've had to memorize lines and all that. So how do you go about that and keeping your sanity, I guess?
Well, I mean, you just got to learn to have fun with the process, really.
Sure.
If you're not having fun with rehearsal, if you're not having fun, getting to know your character and learning the character and learning what parts of that character you can empathize with and really connect with, if you're not having fun with that process, then you should probably reevaluate it, because
Exactly.
if you're just getting frustrated with the process, you're not going to be moving forward or anything like that. So I try my best to learn to have fun with the process, and a lot of that can tend to be like a hurry up and wait. And that's one aspect of the military that kind of carries over into civilian life, because there's a lot of hurry up and wait in the military.
Sure.
They have you sitting at the armory before you go out to the field at like 04, but you're not stepping off until like 09. So you're standing out there in the cold waiting for your weapons for like hours on end, right? For for all that. So practicing that has kind of helped me. I mean, especially when you have a lot shorter intervals in between shots and everything.
Yeah, that probably prepared you more for your acting career than most actors get because of that. So that's cool. But no, I wouldn't want to be sitting there. That, of course, the military, you all get up much earlier than I do. Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm lazy and y'all run too much. As you can see, I'm not a runner. I tried it once, thought I was going to die. So
always running. Yes. And we always had a sergeant that wanted to push us. And we always had that one. There was always one. Actually, every NCO that ever ran us ever, what they like to do is they like to run us around the base, and then we'll be coming back around to the barracks where we originally form up and everything, to be dismissed for PT and move on with our day. They like to do a lap by the barracks, make us think, oh, we're going home. Nope. Guess again. Guess where we're going. Another round. Suck it up, Buttercup. We're going.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, I was in the Boy Scouts. That's about as close as I got. Okay, and I had trouble there. So, but yeah, I don't think I could have handled that. I'm gonna be truthful. It's too much running. I run down the hall here at school and I get tired. So, well, I'm old too. So,
oh,
yeah, 50. Gonna be 51 next month. So, my running day is about done.
I understand that.
Let's see. What else did I want to? What is for all the different roles that you've done? What do you think? What's been the most challenging role that you've done?
That's a great question. I'm even like reaching back into my high school
Sure.
days, you know. Oh, the most daunting thing that I've done. I mean, this is back in my high school days, because right now the most daunting thing I've done has been Queen of the South, and I feel like I've kind of talked that to death a little bit.
No.
Um, but
That's a hell of a show, man. It's good.
it's really good.
It really is.
Yeah, it was this last play we did, the night of January 16th, you know, where I'm like right there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to see, but yeah, that was the last play I did, and I never thought I'd ever do acting again.
Right.
And it was our very first attempt at a 3-act play, because we were normally doing like, you know, 1 acts,
right,
or whatever, you know, like keeping them short. But every year we were we were changing teachers, because it was a growing school. You know, you know how new schools start. You know, the teachers tend to like cover multiple subjects. So like your gym teacher is also your history teacher or your art teacher,
right,
and so on. So that was kind of like how this school started. And I was like, there was like maybe 1 or 2 classes that graduated before mine. That's how new it was. And so we went from our art teacher being the art, theater, and dance teacher. Then the following year we had a new teacher. The following year we had a new teacher, and each year I had a new teacher. And the last year I actually ended up helping select the new teacher for senior year.
Oh, that's cool.
Because the previous teacher in my junior year knew that I took the program seriously, because I was very passionate about it.
Right.
I knew that I wouldn't let the program slip.
Exactly.
You know, by another administrator. So this last teacher was very ambitious, and, you know, I brought her on because I felt like she was going to progress the program further, which is what we were aiming to do, you know, as a growing school. And yeah, that 3-act play was very daunting. That was like the most lines I had to memorize.
Right.
And, you know, the difference between theater acting and film acting is that opening night is make or break, sink or swim. You know, you don't get to pause, reset, try again in front of a live audience like that. No. Whereas, you know, in theater, or I mean in film, you flub a line, or you trip, or whatever.
You're right.
You reset the scene, go again. Yeah, it's going to cost money for the film, whatever. But that versus having to memorize a 3-act play for your character. And not to mention, as an actor, you should also be remembering the other characters' lines as well.
Sure.
That's a trademark of a good, you know, team player.
Oh, yeah.
So having to know that play was very daunting, and I definitely slipped up a few times, but nobody noticed. That's how good I was. So, but yeah, I think that had to have been the most daunting thing I've done so far.
Right. Yeah. You know, that's kind of like teaching, doing the live play, because there's sometimes I mess up and I can't do it either. Like, you know, I might drop shit, or the kids are like, what? Get over it.
Right.
Oh, goodness. How's your life? I mean, you've been acting for a while now, but how's your life changed since then?
Well, it's definitely a lot more interesting, I would say, from any other job I've had.
Sure.
You know?
Oh yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, being a tank driver will never get old for me to say. I will never get tired of telling people, yeah, I was a tank driver. I'll never get tired of that. I don't care.
And you shouldn't. You know, that's cool as hell.
Because, you know, not many 19-year-olds get to say that they're in charge of $3 million piece of, you know, military equipment.
And you get to blow stuff up.
And we get to blow stuff up. So, you know, that will never get tired of me. But it's not like, you know, I think with the military, what I liked about it is that, you know, you're doing different stuff a lot. And, you know, with acting and film and TV, you're doing something different every time.
Yeah.
You're doing a new scene, new character. And what I like about it is I get a lot of, behind the scenes looks at how things are put together. And then when I see the final product, it's, something that I admire
Sure.
and, inspires me for sure.
Most definitely.
And I definitely get to meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah.
I got to briefly meet Rob Reiner.
Mm-hmm.
I got to, which I actually, here we go. While I was doing security on LBJ, because I was doing security and background work on that production, ironically. Cool. And I have so many stories from that production. Rob Reiner, at the end of the day, was waiting for his vehicle, and I was doing security at the entrance where all the vans and buses were coming to pick up all the cast and crew.
Sure.
And Rob Reiner was leaning on my car, waiting for his car. And it wasn't like it's a special car or anything like that. I don't have like a old hot rod or nothing, but I don't like people touching my car.
Right. Exactly.
It's a personal pet peeve of mine. Like, just don't do it, please.
Well, yeah, you don't do that here either.
You squeeze in your spot, whatever you got to do, that's fine, whatever. But don't be leaning on my car for no reason. So I'm like, how do I tell Rob Reiner, get the hell off my car? Because I'm in like my security uniform too and everything like that. So I could have easily been like, rightfully a dick about it. But I walked up to him. I was like, hey, Mr. Reiner, how you doing? And, I was able to have a brief chat with him. And
sure.
He was pretty decent to chat to. But when I was doing background work, I was one of the Secret Service agents on that production. And I worked, multiple days. And one of the days that we were shooting, I actually, have the movie and everything where you can see me in the trailer, and there's like 2 minutes of screen time where you can like see my face right up in the camera. And that was really exciting. That was like the first time I like really got to see myself up and close and personal like that.
That'd be awesome.
And that was really cool, and I was with Woody Harrelson, stiff arming doctors through this hospital kind of thing. So it was really fun. And we're chilling on set, like we're in between shots, and Rob Reiner is giving his direction, but he's not having a good day. He's kind of like yelling and shouting and stuff like that. And then there's just a split second of silence, and then Woody, who's carrying around like this mason jar of I don't know what. Like,
might not want to ask.
Some kind of weird grass juice. I don't know what's in it, but he always had this mason jar with him. And when he wasn't in costume, he was wearing flip-flops too, which was fun. And there was like this split moment of silence, and he like pretends to drop his mason jar and scares the crap out of Rob Reiner. And he's like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "I'm just trying to break the tension." Oh, it was so good. So it's like that kind of, those kinds of moments, you don't get that, in everyday life. You don't see that, I mean, hell, I was working a hotel down on downtown Bourbon Street, and I got to meet Steven Hittner or Heitner.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about?
I know exactly who, yes.
Comedians, Seinfeld. Yeah. So I got to meet him while working at a hotel,
Sweet.
And that's not something that I would have been able to experience in Tucson, Arizona, where I'm originally
right.
from. So moving to the city, has changed my life in more ways than I could possibly count. Like, the list just goes on and on and on, and all the different ways that my life has changed.
Well, that's awesome. So I got to know, because Woody Harrelson's one of my favorite actors. Zombieland is a piece of work in my eyes.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
How was, I mean, you told a story about it, but how was it to work with him?
It's amazing, because he had to play a serious character on LBJ.
Sure.
And they had him in all kinds of like prosthetics for his makeup to make him look like Lyndon B. Johnson. Yes. He was the spitting image of Johnson on that production. Like, you couldn't even tell that it was him unless you were like face to face with the guy.
Right.
And kept to himself, really. I also kept to myself. I try to keep professional and not
Sure.
go like super fanboy, while I'm on set, even when I want to.
Yeah.
Like I did get to talk with Brian Stepanak in between shots. I liked him as Earl the janitor on Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. That's
Oh yeah.
what I grew up watching him on. And he was like, it's funny because he still gets recognized for that role to this day, and that's how he gets, pointed out to on the street.
Well,
Even
sure.
kids still point him out that way. But I didn't like get to have a face-to-face conversation with Woody Harrelson because I respect the actor's process, and I kind of
Sure.
leave them alone if they're doing their thing. And he was always busy, but he did wave at me while I was like leaving the parking lot, and he drove around, or rode around, I should say, in this modified school bus. I don't know what it runs on, but the irony of it, for me at least, was how he had this mural painted on his bus of like industrialization consuming Mother Earth kind of thing.
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah, that's super subtle on the side of the school bus.
School bus, yeah.
I don't know what it runs on, but I doubt it's corn.
No, I imagine not. Maybe that's what he had in that jar.
Yeah, right. The fuel, it gets him going, and it gets the bus going too. But he was cool. He was really cool to work with. Nothing. I can't think of a single actor that I've worked with that I have a single complaint about.
Right. Well, that's good. I got all kinds of people I have complaints about that I work with, but we won't get into that. So I'm sure, acting and stuff, it takes up most of your time and everything, but how do you balance that with your personal life as well? I mean, is it always work, 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 or do you take time to relax and this and that as well?
Can we pause for just
Sure, you're fine.
Go ahead. Ruining the shot.
Oh, and I'm keeping that in there too.
Ruining my show. Oh, I'm just kidding.
All right, let's start over.
All right, acting in my personal life.
Yes.
So actually, it's kind of hit or miss with acting. So doing these when you do acting, you kind of got to take whatever work you can get.
Sure.
Right? And one thing that you don't experience in the regular workplace is discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
Where there is discrimination in acting, it's necessary discrimination though,
right?
Because it's discrimination to find out who's going to portray the character the best. It's not, so sometimes it calls for female, sometimes it calls for male, sometimes it calls for a specific ethnicity. So you just kind of got to watch out for what roles that you fit.
Sure.
And so it's not every day that I find a role that I fit into. I also have to worry about my tattoos and stuff like that, because they don't like people with tattoos in productions. Mm-hmm. Often people with tattoos on film are often people that need to be portrayed as criminals or funny characters or something like that.
Right.
It's like there's an actual symbolism behind it. It's not just like copyright kind of thing.
Sure.
And so because I don't work on film sets every day, mm-hmm. I do have a day job. I just cut back my hours so that I could get a little bit of a break, because I've been working like 5 to 6 days a week doing these 12-hour shifts. So I've never been having a whole lot of time for myself, let alone to do any of the stuff that I actually want to do, like, going out and finding an acting job.
Right.
I'm usually so exhausted from doing these shifts, I just want to sleep all day.
Sure.
Nothing gets done. But I do security, and I've worked on film and production sets as security.
Awesome.
But my supervisor is not going to take those anymore because they apparently don't pay that well. Versus some of the other contracts that we get through like the hotels or the warehouses that we're working at right now. So, you try to find a balance. And I think one of the great things about being kind of like a freelance artist like this, though, is it allows me to my schedule the way that I need to.
Sure.
So I can make time for things like this, and do interviews on podcasts and
Right.
radio shows, and also, makes time for me to even work on some of my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been sitting on this stupid screenplay of mine that I keep putting off adding to because I'm like hitting a wall, that writer's block. So
Right.
that's where I'm at right now on that. But you find time to take care of the things that you need to take care of, and also it gives me the time to go do fun stuff like going to concerts.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on that. That was my next question I was going to ask. And I kind of got the feeling that when I saw on Facebook when I was getting ready for the interview. So do you plan on making your own films as well?
I would like to. I do have a few ideas.
Awesome.
At least for one potential web series and one feature film, at least for sure. And a few others are just kind of like random thoughts that I've had that I haven't even worked on because I'm like I need to finish these other projects first before I move on to the next thing, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what that is about us creatives, but we do that. We have like these, hundreds of project ideas that we want to do, and like half of them aren't even finished.
Oh yeah,
not more than half. And we'll move on to the next thing before finishing the last thing that we were working on.
I feel you because I get in trouble with my wife all the time because I start something and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm in it. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, I'm doing this. And I jump to different things as well. So hopefully, I think this one's going to stick though. Try anyway. So that's awesome. Yeah. If you could play any character, or what's a character that you would like to play? Let's put it that way.
So every time I get asked this question, I never know what to answer because
I don't know any better. So
I'm actually still trying to find myself as an artist a little bit.
Sure.
I think. I'm working on a few things, trying to find my niche and trying to figure out, what I'm about and what I want to represent, what I want to portray. And when it comes to acting and filmmaking, with acting, I don't really, beggars can't be choosers kind of thing.
Right.
So, if there is a role, like there was this one time I auditioned for this indie film, nailed the audition, killed it, absolutely killed it. But I ended up not getting casted because the parents, it was for a Latino looking family, and I can vaguely represent a Latino style, and I was not going to look like the parents that they casted.
Right.
So they wanted to keep the parents, and they found someone else that matched the parents, but I guess did as good of a job or good enough job. So
sure.
That's the kind of thing that you got to look out for and be patient with and get used to. You got to get used to that rejection. So that's one thing that kind of wears on you a little bit. But when it comes to figuring out what I want to play, ideally, I would want to be in anything Star Wars.
Most definitely. Now you're talking my language.
Anything Star Wars. I would say anything Marvel, but I think the superhero films have kind of ran their course a little bit, or at least they're about to. Anyways,
yeah.
They're running out of room.
Yes.
For more growth and anything interesting, at least I think, in my opinion. I am interested though to see Will Poulter take on Adam Warlock. That's going to be interesting.
That will be.
But anything Star Wars. Like even if they put me in a alien suit or a stormtrooper costume and you never saw my face or anything like that,
right?
Like they did with Simon Pegg and Daniel Craig and stuff like. I could still
be like, say that stormtrooper. That's me.
I was on that Star Wars set. I don't care. Call me a liar. I don't care. I wasn't allowed to take pictures. I wouldn't. I know. I can only imagine that you wouldn't be allowed to take pictures because they're pretty strict about that on most sets, and I can only imagine how tight they were on that Star Wars set about taking pictures for background. So I would never be able to prove it. That would be the other thing. I
Well,
would never be able to prove it.
I was sitting here thinking, if you couldn't be there's no way you'd make it as a stormtrooper because you're a vet. You were in the Marines, and we
Yeah.
all know that stormtroopers can never shoot anything they're aimed at.
Oh,
So
you're right about that. Yeah, I would have to really act real
Really?
hard to not miss something.
they'd be like, "Listen, you actually hit him. We don't do that."
What are you doing? Why are you? That's not what we do. Shoot
We hit the
around.
wall. We hit this other thing. They'll have. I know. I'm getting off subject. They'll have like 30 stormtroopers and 2 people. Not one person gets hit.
Right. Ridiculous. Absolutely.
Those are the
ridiculous.
things that I look at. I'm still upset that Rose didn't let Jack on that piece of wood on Titanic. So I can't let go of the stormtroopers either.
No, I understand that.
Oh goodness. For somebody that's wanting to get into this profession, what's some advice that you would give that person?
Well, be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Things you also remember to pay your dues.
Right.
There's a lot of hurry up and wait. Try not to fantasize or glamorize it too much, to be
Right.
honest, because while it may be fun to put on characters and see yourself on TV and everything like that,
Sure.
there is work and effort that goes into it, and I do believe it should be taken seriously.
Uh-huh.
And if you do end up on a set, be prepared for a lot of hurry up and wait, because you are going to be waiting in between those scenes while they reset the camera, while they set up the lights. There's
Right.
a whole process. So come to learn to love the process and have fun with it. Find ways to keep yourself occupied. Like, I'll bring a book or my iPad or
Uh-huh.
my Nintendo Switch or whatever, keep myself occupied in between
Sure.
shots. And stay persistent and put yourself out for whatever you can. I use this website called My Casting File.
Mm-hmm.
It's free to sign up. You don't need to use a credit card or anything to sign up. Only if you want to upgrade to the premium version,
Right.
which is like $25 a year, which I highly recommend because that's a steal.
Oh yeah.
And it allows you to put you at the front of the line, for casting directors to see you.
Right.
So if you're going to be serious about this, I highly recommend going to that site. I also recommend, just learning as much as you can. Pick up Stanislavski's method acting.
Mm-hmm.
You could also take a masterclass. Go to masterclass.com.
Mm-hmm.
I took Dustin Hoffman's masterclass, and it was $200, and it's absolutely enlightening and inspiring
Sure.
characters, in my opinion. So whatever you can to educate yourself on it. Just me personally, I just dove into it. I just dove into it and immersed myself into it as much as I could, learn as much as I could, and just kept reminding myself, that I'm doing this because this is what I feel like is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah. And when you're doing what you're meant to do, you know it. You feel it in your heart there. So what do you do to grow your personal brand?
That's a great question. I'm still working on my personal brand
Sure.
right now.
I am too, and I'm old.
It's very hard. It's definitely not as easy as just setting up a Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. You got to be consistent, and that's what I'm trying to do, is be a little bit more consistent with my posting. I have been through a whirlwind of changes that have kind of left me slightly disoriented, so
Sure.
I've gotten distracted and off the path of growing my social media platforms, but I am working on that now, and trying to refocus my goals and everything. So yeah, just post consistently as much as you can. Engage with people and network with people as much as you can that are interested in the same things that you are.
Right.
Film wise, photography wise, music wise, even business wise. When you network with people in your field, that's where your growth really starts.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so I've got two more questions, and I'm trying to find find how I want to end my interviews at every time, and so I'm coming up with a couple things, and uh, this one's could be interesting, especially since you were a Marine. But I used to watch James Lipton's show all the time, and at the end he would ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite questions that he would ask, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what's your favorite curse word?
It's fuck. It's definitely fuck.
That's mine.
When I got out of the Marine Corps, let me tell you, every other word out of my mouth was fuck.
Yeah.
And I had to dial it back like hard, especially transitioning into civilian life, because apparently civilians don't like that word a lot. I don't. What also really pissed me off too one time was when someone told me, oh, that's not very professional of you being in the military and swearing like that. I'm like, have you met any fucking Marines?
That's what I was thinking.
Like, are you kidding? You heard the expression swearing like a fucking sailor, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
are you? So I can't stand that. I can't stand it. So see, you open up the floodgates, and now I can't stop fucking.
Hey,
swearing.
come on, it's all right. See, that's what's funny is here when I hit the doors here, I'm nice, and then as soon as I leave the doors of the school, it's fuckity fuck.
I had to start. I had to learn how to keep it professional though, because after I got out of the Marine Corps, I went into a desk job doing sales and customer service because, before high school, my mom was an entrepreneur and inventor,
Right.
And growing up in that household, she had these small businesses, and I would help run the kiosks in the mall at like 15 years old, selling products and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, and I would outdo a lot of the adult employees at those kiosks too that we hired, which is funny to me. And so of course, getting out of the military, I went back to the next thing that I knew, which was sales. So that's exactly what I did. And I went and took this desk job selling Verizon Fios. It's like a cable internet TV service,
I know.
home phone and stuff like that.
Sure.
And I was the guy that you called to complain about, why your bill was so high. And I was the one that told you because your fucking 14-year-old son won't stop ordering pay-per-view porn. So you figure that one out. Why don't you? You take care of that one. Well, can you remove it? It shows watched. I can't.
No.
Can't do this. So
can you be a parent?
so it was. Oh God. But yeah, so during that, I would mute customers a lot, and that's when I'd be like, "This motherfucking bitch." I just start going off about this customer or whatever that would piss me off, or just start talking shit. And it being in a professional setting like that, though, I would often get talked to about my language. So you need to watch your language, Mr. Lloyd. I'm like, fucking why? Because Mr. Lloyd, it's not professional. I'm like, says who? Like, I don't. It was really hard. That was a hard, especially around my family. My grandmother, my poor grandmother.
Oh.
Oh, that poor woman. The heart of a saint. God, that woman. I love her. She would plug her ears. She would flinch every time. Like, it physically hurt her. It was that poor woman. And I felt so bad. And so that's actually, I think, probably one of the biggest motivators for me to like clean up myself a little bit and maybe not swear as much. But
sure.
If I'm comfortable around people or someone opens up the door, believe me, I start fucking swearing like a goddamn fucking motherfucker. Yeah. So,
well, I was trying to judge earlier. I said, I don't know, do I ask that question or not? And I was like, hell, he's a Marine.
Fuck was part of our vocabulary. It was a great word to communicate everything.
Oh, yeah.
Communicated everything. Could not communicate anything without saying fuck. So. Yes, by far my favorite. I mean, it reminds me of was it The History of Swear Words with Nicolas Cage on
Yes,
Netflix? Did you see that?
I
Oh my
did.
god.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. That's one that I saw was going to come on. I kept telling my wife, like, I can't wait till this show comes on. And she'd look at me and go, "Listen, I'm into history, you know." So, all right. So the last question I'm going to ask is, what's a question that you wish I'd asked you today?
Oh, ooh, okay. I see how the turntables.
Aha.
Uh, uh, shit. I guess maybe about Victor Moore, my legacy grandfather,
Yeah.
or great great grandfather, because he worked with Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
he's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and
Fantastic.
not a lot of people know this. I mean, oh, I guess another thing I should mention. I did just graduate from the Los Angeles Film School.
That's awesome, man.
So
Congratulations.
I have a ridiculous amount of I like history, but mostly film history
Right.
and cinema and movie trivia and stuff like that. Like we would even play a game in our house called Name That Movie,
Mm-hmm.
where one of us, any family member, it doesn't matter. It's usually my dad though. It's usually my dad and my mom and me, and sometimes my siblings, but they would just say or shout a random obscure line from any movie like Mrs. Doubtfire or whatever. It'd be up to the rest of the family to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And the winner didn't get anything. It was kind of like, whose line is it anyway? The points are made up and don't matter, or the rules are made up and the points don't matter. And you didn't get anything if you won, except pride maybe, and bragging rights. But that's the kind of thing that I'm into. And what a lot of people don't know about film is that when film first started, it didn't have sound.
Right.
We had silent film, right? A lot of people know that. That's not the one I'm referring to. I know people aren't that dumb, but
I don't know.
what a lot of people don't know though is that the transition from silent film to film with sound, also known as the talkies,
Mm-hmm.
was very difficult for a lot of actors, because as soon as the audience would hear these actors' voices on screen for the first time, they were repulsed by them. So it would ruin movies for a lot of audiences
Sure.
if these actors were used. So while a lot of actors didn't thrive through this transition, through this evolution in film, my great grandfather did. He did some silent film, and then transitioned into talkies,
Mm-hmm.
no problem, and was known for his comedic style of acting. He was in Swing Time, The 7-Year Itch, True to Life, and a bunch more other things. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like I said before, worked with Marilyn Monroe, and was even the original inspiration for the voice of Elmer Fudd on Looney Tunes.
Oh man. Let's see. Now I'm getting excited.
Yeah. So he's done a lot. So having him, and I also have one of his like original movie posters also hanging up on my wall right now, staring at me. That I like that it's there, that it's staring at me though, because
Sure.
whenever I sit in my office and I see that, I'm just like, I can do this, I got this, and then I get back to work.
That's awesome, man. And I can see how proud you are of him. So that's something else. Uh, cool. Well, that's all that I've got to ask you. Michael, I can't say enough about how awesome it's been to meet you and sit down and talk to you today. And I appreciate it. And, I would say if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. But I think you got it under control. And I look forward to seeing you movies, TV, and whatever else you do in life.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm really hoping to book some more featured gigs and some speaking gigs here soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm keeping on the lookout. But yeah, thanks for having me, John. I really appreciate you having me here and talking to me, and
most definitely
having me on your show and letting me tell my story.
Heck yeah. Well, all right. Well, thank you again. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Badass Conversations podcast. I'm John, and we're out.